And this was a late-breaking addition to my show because many of you know, congratulations, Alexandra Baker. Our today's special sold out earlier. So what we do get to do is offer for you a power factory, and that's exactly what this is. So it is from EcoFlow, which arguably they are the #1 name when it comes to these portable, powerful generators that don't need gas or oil or maintenance or ventilation. You don't have to worry about carbon monoxide. I mean, it's a perfect world. So here's what we're going to do. Because it was a late breaking addition, there are not a ton of these. Now, I will tell you this, we have 2 options. And Rick, since it was a late breaking addition, what is the breakdown? How many do I have on? Oh, that's it? You know what, we may be able to show you the quantity left, and the only reason I say that is you choose it either with the solar panels, which by the way, the solar panels we normally sell for $400. You kind of do the math there. Thank you, Ricardo. 300 and 300 only, a little over 100 each, and free shipping. Our unconditional, now extended holiday return policy. And then of course you're getting that flex pay. And Rick, once more, 5 flex pay. I just want to double check. And are we doing the via financing? Oh, no kidding. They're actually going to mirror the 18-month VIP financing. So that breaks down to $47 and change on the version without, and then a little over $68 on the version without. All right, I gotta get them out here because this is actually an abbreviated presentation, and just so you realize, again, you can choose it with the solar panel or without the solar panel. I'll just show you real quickly. It's a power factory. It is a generator, folks, and you get all the pieces, parts, ports. So yes, you get your USBs. My personal favorites, you can plug in even hair dryers, hot plates, you know, whatever you got. So you've got your regular plugs as well. I actually have the previous or the smaller version of this that I use for an uninterruptible power source for my medical devices. Anyway, I got to get him out here. My friend Justin, he's back. Justin, it was a Friday. You answered the phone and you answered the call of duty, so to speak. And I'm glad that you did because I'm a fan of yours and you know I'm a fan of this. I know we don't have a ton of them, and the thing is we can never assume that people have seen this. Although it's been a favorite, I've been happy to feature it many times in my show. Let's start with some of the broad strokes. Let's start with, what is this? Who needs this? What does it do? And how easy, how powerful it is compared to what's out there. So I defer to you.
Well, hello, Shannon. You had to be cracking up earlier there. I gotta say, if we want to just start from the most simplistic idea of what this is, it's a series of powerful batteries that create a power factory, as Shannon was saying, a true version, 21st century version of a generator. Now, what's really the greatest part about that is that you don't need gas, you don't need any propane, you don't need oil to be able to power up all of the different things in your life. Now, what kind of things, if you lose power, would you like to power? Well, like a refrigerator or a TV. This is powerful enough not just to do the small things. It's business in the front with your USBs, but it's also party in the back, because this is where you're going to be able to plug in all of the big things. Now, broad strokes, this is one of the leaders, EcoFlow, in the whole entire industry of these power stations, these power factories. So how easy and simple it is one touch of a button, we're going to turn it on. There's no pull crank. There's nothing that you have to worry about. And then there's no fumes. You can run this inside. Now we've got our light right here. We'll have a light in just a second here. There we go. And then we can have all of the different USBs on the very front. But this is where it really takes it to a whole nother level, because this actually can power high wattage appliances. So I do have a blender, but it's a high wattage appliance. So I want you guys to consider, how would you be able to power that in the case of emergency? And also even some of our power tools. Thinking about people who maybe are off the grid, or you're off the grid. Now you can power serious power tools. Now what happens when you run out of power on the power station? This is why we offer the option with the solar panel. because now you have a 110-watt solar panel where you don't have to run over to the gas station. You don't have to worry about running out of gas, because now you can connect your solar panel to your power station and then recharge your power station in a few hours. Now, here's one of the cool parts about EcoFlow in general, is that they have one of the fastest recharge rates in the whole entire industry. I can recharge my power station in under an hour and a half, 100%, 0 to 80% in under an hour. But that way I can plug in a full-size refrigerator. Now, why would you want a refrigerator plugged in? Of course, we've got hundreds of dollars worth of food in our refrigerator. But if you live in an apartment or condo, how are you going to plug it in? You're at the mercy of waiting for the power to come back. Now you're not in that mercy. If you have medicine that needs to stay cool, now you can keep it cool. Speaking of medical devices, you just mentioned it, Shannon. Our CPAP machine, this is a $700 CPAP machine. You don't want it to be rendered useless in the middle of the night. You can have your CPAP machine plugged into your power station so you can breathe easy at night. And then, of course, we're watching the weather. We're seeing what's going on. We're still in the peak of hurricane season. I promise. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to lose power. It doesn't matter if you're over here in the country. It doesn't matter if you're down here in the country. The majority of the storms, Shannon, are winter storms, which is where we were right up here in Minnesota, where we know it gets cold, and you can actually power space heaters with this. So many different things that you can utilize, not just keeping things cool, but heating elements also.
Absolutely. So Justin, in just a moment, I'm going to actually have you go through the ports just so we can show everybody again. But Rick, if it's okay, Rick is my producer tonight, my partner in crime. I've known him for over 20 years too. So I'd love for you to see the quantity left. Now, just bear in mind, this was a late breaking addition to my show. We've got a little over 300. A little over 100 in each choice. You can choose it with the solar panel or without. Now, I will tell you, so we've sold over 4,300, and we have hundreds of people calling. Listen, I realize this is, I guess, what one could call a considered purchase, but it's also one of those things that I say, it's the purchase of no regrets. It's not something that you ever say, why did I do this? However, if you don't, and I'm certainly not putting this out to the world, but as Justin and I often say, it's kind of like, death and taxes. I mean, eventually you're going to lose power. You're going to have some kind of situation. This becomes an uninterruptible power supply with no carbon monoxide, no dangerous fumes, no maintenance. You own it forever, and just understand that. But what we have is what we have. Now, when we did this as a one-day only value, the version with the solar panel sold out well before day's end, and we just didn't even have any other solar panels available. Normally, the solar panel value is about $400 here at HSN. If you can make the decision on the version with the solar panel, that's the one I would definitely recommend. And it is the most limited. So I think we have fewer than 100. When Justin and I did this as a one-day only value, and I apologize, we had this lovely gentleman who called in, and he was on the East Coast, and he was worried about his mom, and he was worried about her CPAP machine, and she had, medical concerns. And he bought the original version. Now, what is interesting about this, before he lost the power, they had a weather emergency. His entire neighborhood was without power for over a week. His entire neighborhood was without power for over a week. And people were even wondering, he said, they're like, how come, his lights are on? It was because of this. But more importantly, the medical devices were being powered. And then he came back and then he bought the solar panel separately. So if you can, that's the one that I would recommend. I know that's probably going to sell out in the next 10 minutes or so. Of course, we do have the version without, okay, oh, in fact, you know what? Well, case in point, there's your if purchased separately. Normally, the solar panels are $400. So any way you stack it, you still get that extended holiday return policy. So you still have until the end of January. And listen, I'm not saying Murphy's Law, but I could almost promise you there will be something in the course of the next 3 months that you'll say, boy, I'm glad I got that. So let's do this. Justin, now remember, you do have the 18-month VIP financing. If you have an HSN card, we do have 5 flex pays, which of course you can use PayPal, debit card, Zulily card, Q card, HSN card. I use my debit card. 5 flex pays. Let's do a little tour. Actually, you know what, Mark, I'm gonna come out this way just because I don't want to unplug anything that they have. And Justin, I know you've got it at your house too. So yeah. I'm gonna move this around. Sorry, Vanessa, she always does such a great job. Whatever you got, cables, plugs, the whole shebango. So this, it charges faster. So we get all these ports, and then I'll turn this around on the back, even with my physical and dexterity issues, more power ports, more power, more stuff. And remember, when it runs out of juice, and it lets you know you can repower it. So Justin, should I start, like you said, business in the front, party in the back. Should we start party in the back with all of these plugs and ports? Where would you like to go?
Yeah, well, we'll start with the back since you kicked the show off talking about your hiney. Let's do that. We got the party in the back is where you're going to be plugging all of your big appliances, right? The three-prong appliances. Now, keep in mind that you can plug in up to 1,800 watts of power. So that's why we can do so much. Now, you're seeing the three-prong. You also have the DC adapter which is like that little circle, so you can actually use some of your air inflators, so perfect for air mattresses. And then that little tab on the top, Shannon, is where you're going to be able to plug it into the wall. If you open up that tab right there, yep, that's where we're going to actually be able to connect our solar panel and are plugging into the wall. So speaking of plugging into the wall, again, this is the fastest in the industry, from 0 to 80% plugging into the wall to 80% in an hour and a half, all the way to 100%. So keep in mind, 1,800 watts of power, you can recharge this battery that quickly. And then on the very front is where all the USBs are going to be. So great, really kind of like that. We call it a power station. Really, it's going to be a party power station, because if you are having this outside, if you've got multiple phones in the home, you can have 4 different phones plugged in right there. In fact, you can have 12 devices plugged in simultaneously. And then that one touch of a button, I'm not sure if that unit's charged. If you just touch that button or hold it down, Shannon, it's actually going to power the unit on. And there you go. So there's your whole entire display that gives you all of the information that you need to see how much wattage we're using, how much power's left. You have everything that you need. So it's really a smart solution in the fact that it makes your life so much easier, because there's no more guessing. And so when we talk about 1,800 watts of power, I want to show you. In fact, when I plug in, I'm going to plug in the blender. And I don't know if we can bring the camera in close, because I want you to see what would happen here. I'm going to turn my display on, and I want you to see right here, if you guys can see, this is going to be, I'm going to turn it, there we go. Over here is going to be showing me the wattage. Watch when I go ahead and I actually, do you see that? It's showing you 400 watts of power, right? So here's one of the cool parts about that. Most of these style power stations, Shannon, only go up to about 400, 500 watts. This goes up to 1,800 watts. So we can continue to plug things in. Again, up to 12 different things simultaneously are lights. And then again, what's nice about it, it only weighs 23 pounds. You can't do this with your gas generator. You can't make this actual true portable power. And then also keep in mind, we're running this inside. There's no fumes. There's nothing toxic that we have to worry about. When we talk about gas generators, you can't run them inside, of course, because of the carbon monoxide. You can't have them. You have to have them 20 feet away from your home. So this is one of the greatest solutions for any of you who live in apartments and live in condos. We showed you the refrigerator really quickly, and I'll send it back to you, Shannon. I just want to mention again, we talk about heating elements and high wattage appliances. We have a TV, we have a fan, and then we can actually be cooking our food really quickly here with a microwave. You can be cooking your food, keeping your food cold, and we're doing this with something that only weighs 23 pounds. It doesn't have any gas, it doesn't have any propane, that you can be running inside in your apartments and condos. I think this is just perfect. And then all the fun stuff, TV for emergencies, TV for fun and tailgating too.
Absolutely. So I know you saw that quantity left. Thank you, Rick. I'll speak to that real quickly, just to kind of give you a little breakdown. So we're getting ready, well, actually, as we speak, we're dipping below 300, and that's not to rush anybody. However, I will tell you this. Normally, and this is the bigger version, I own one of the previous versions, and incidentally, I spent more, the version that I have, I spent $9.99 on without solar panels. I love it, but this is the one I want to upgrade to. Whether it is a dialysis machine, whether it is a CPAP machine, whether it is a nebulizer, whether it's a blender. I mean, you could make as much of a case for medical devices as much as you could for the fun factor. The one thing I will tell you is that peace of mind you cannot put a price on. And I really don't say that lightly, if only because we know life has a capacity or an ability to throw things our way that we may or may not expect. And this is one less thing that you have to worry about. And remember, you own the power factory forever. It is not something that you can, that's disposable, or there's a 10-year shelf life, or that it expires, so to speak. You recharge it as you go, as necessary. And then if you do the solar panels, I'm just basing this on all of the reviews that I've read. Most of the people who buy this end up getting the solar panels as well. By the way, we're doing a little crawl at the bottom. Jan and Tina, I saw Kathy scrolling by there. There she is. Always good to have you in the house. Really wonderful to be here. You know how much I appreciate you for spending part of our time at HSN because you got a lot of choices out there. This is, oh, Tara, hello. Nice to have you. Oh, or Annie. I know Miss Barbara's got to be in there. You know, all my men and my ladies, my Friday night crew, as it were. This is something that gives you that peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And I realize, again, it is a considered purchase. But generally speaking, when we do these power factories, as I like to call them, we order a certain quantity for the season. And Justin, with that in mind, I'll let you play devil's advocate. I know every host, we've all talked about the shipping and the transportation and the challenges that the entire country is dealing with. Correct me if I'm wrong, EcoFlow actually, well, they robbed Peter to pay Paul. It's like they culled their entire inventory nationwide to make sure that HSN had these finite and limited quantities. So I guess the bottom line is this: while it's a considered purchase, we're probably looking at the quantities that we would see for the season, or in all likelihood until next year. I know that's a pretty broad, those are broad strokes, but that's probably the case. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, you know, we get first dibs at it because that's just the relationship that we have with EcoFlow. You know, we've been with EcoFlow now as a partnership for, I believe, 3 or 4 years when we launched the original one. So we got first crack at the brand new version of the Delta. And I think it just goes to show you just the relationship right there. And then, of course, you talk about the shipping, free shipping. It only weighs 23 pounds, so makes it very easy to make it portable power. I can tell you my 83-year-old grandma, the first thing she wanted to do was pick it up and see if she could actually carry it around, and she did. So definitely peace of mind and definitely the confidence that you get with that. But you see you were talking about the inventory that we have left. There's no doubt that we've all heard the supply chain talk. It is. It's been an issue, supply chain. So that's what's so great about it too, that we got the crack at it first, but we don't know when we're going to even be able to get more back and when that's going to happen. But speaking of just portable, I want you to really consider, we brought this outside. Now, maybe you have a patio, maybe you're thinking about going camping, maybe you're just wanting that extra power. Again, you can't do all of this with a gas power generator, and this is running right now. You wouldn't be able to hear me talk because we have a loud generator running. The gas, the fumes, you wouldn't be able to stand next to it, or at least you wouldn't want to be standing next to it. But we've got TVs and we've got all these different things that we'd want to be able to enjoy outside. Now, it is still summertime, so you know, why are you not outside? Because it's hot? Well, how nice would it be to have a fan going outside? Maybe that's the difference between enjoying your patio during the summertime and springtime and not enjoying it. So we got a big fan, perfect for the pets also. I could have had my Dynatrap out here with the birds. The mosquitoes are coming out real quickly. And now again, a television. So perfect for those TVs, tailgating. Take this with you tailgating. So many times we had Dolphin season tickets down in Miami. Lifting up an 80-pound generator, Shannon, into the back of a pickup truck is never fun. This makes it so much easier. Would have loved to have had this. But really, I think about the multitude of different things. We talk about peace of mind and the power that you're getting. This is going to run so many different things that we're even doing outside. But again, your refrigerator, your medicine, your medical devices, obviously a small little TV that we've got going on right here. Great for camping outdoors, even for the kids. Maybe you want to have a projector set up outside. Doesn't matter where you are in the country. We talk about not a matter of if it's going to happen, but matter of when. And the last thing that I want for you to happen is, you know, what we talked about with Anthony. He saw what happened in Dallas, which was, you know, he told us his whole story. Saw what happened in Dallas. He said, I need to get one of those. And guess what? Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, he was out of power. So really, you want to be proactive, not reactive. You don't want to be sitting there thinking, how am I going to power everything when I should have thought about picking up the EcoFlow? This is a really great time to pick it up now so you have it for those emergency situations. You're not waiting.
For sure. Hey, Justin, just a couple of updates. So more than 4 to 1 of you are selecting the version with the solar panel, which, you know, again, if you can make that buying decision, remember you can put in a 5 flex pay. There is 18-month VIP financing for our HSN card. You can apply and buy as well. We have our extended holiday return policy, which means you're using this. You know, the best thing is you wouldn't have to use it, but we're now at a little over 200. Now that does not take into consideration the hundreds of people who are joining us. Just bear in mind, again, money back guarantee, extended holiday return policy until the end of January. To my knowledge, at least the notes that I see on my flow sheet, the quantities that we have, to my knowledge, are the quantities for the season, And this is the upgraded version. Now, the problem is because 4 to 1 of you are selecting the version with the solar panels. Rick, would I be correct in saying we're fewer than 100 remaining on? Okay, we are right below 100. So that means we're in the dozens remaining on the version with the solar panels. So if you want the version with the solar panel, I would love to suggest or recommend that you do that one tonight. I realize it's a considered purchase for the most part, and you always have 7 days a week, 24 hours a day with which to select your purchase. However, the version with the solar panels, because that's $400 on its own, is probably an even smarter choice than without. But any way you stack it, it is something that gives you such peace of mind. I don't think we have the review in the system to talk about the woman in Texas. We all know what happened in Texas. And Justin, you were referencing Anthony. Thank you for remembering his name. He actually said that he bought his based on what happened in Texas. And whether it's the heat, whether it's the cold, whether it's flooding, the weather can be deadly. And based on what happened in Texas, that's why he made his purchase. Mary was one of our reviews that we had in our system at one point, and she was talking about how her neighbors were wondering how she was running power, but more importantly, she had the peace of mind of running her dialysis machine. And I think it's, listen, it's fun to talk about the blenders and the microwaves and the hair dryers and the televisions and the Sony PlayStations. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about refrigerators and medications and medical devices, let alone power and portability for a price with no waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's not like you're waiting, oh, what do I, carbon monoxide? Do I have to worry about gas? Do I have to worry about oil? This really is the perfect solution, isn't it?
It makes it just so simplified. Even if you have a gas generator, if you live in an HOA and you actually own a home where you can store a generator, you also have to store gas, and you have to store oil, and you got to worry about the maintenance and all of those different things. When's the last time you even ran it? I mentioned the HOA. Even at 10 o'clock, you can't run your gas generator because it's too loud. So what do you do in the middle of the night? If you do need a CPAP machine, this is perfect. We talk about it being a uninterrupted power source. What that means for you is you can have your CPAP machine plugged into your EcoFlow while your EcoFlow is plugged into the wall. And then if you lose power, guess what? You're not out of power. So you can be running this bedside right next to your bed without having to worry about extension cords. Talking about simplicity too. I have to mention, if you live in an apartment or condo, because I've been there, I know the feeling. You're stuck waiting for the power to come on, and you never know when it's going to happen. It could be just out for 6, 7, 8 hours. Well, this is a way to make sure that you have power for those 8 hours, especially if you're working from home. If you're out of power for even longer, that's why you definitely want to consider picking up the solar panel, because now if you're out of power for days on end, you can use a solar panel to recharge the unit. And keep in mind that this is one of the fastest recharge rates in the whole entire industry, from 0 to 80% in under an hour for something that weighs 23 pounds, that you're not running to the gas station for to get more gas when gas is gone. Peace of mind in the most ultimate meaning right here in a 23-pound 21st century version of a generator, and like you like to call it, Shannon, a power factory.
It is a power factory. I mean, it's so funny because when you look at it, I mean, my toaster oven is bigger than this. It's a power factory. So don't let the size fool you. This is the upgraded version, faster recharge time. EcoFlow, Rob, Peter to pay Paul, they gave us basically the finite and limited quantities that we have. I know you saw that quantity left counter, just as a friendly reminder. We started with about 150 of the version with the solar panel. We now have fewer than 100. So regardless, I believe they will all go. I hope you can make your selection while we have it available. It's such an important purchase. Justin, all right, so now you get the rest of Friday night off. Is that the deal? You're not going to answer the phone anymore, right?
No, it's definitely going to stay on Do Not Disturb. But if you call me, I'll answer.
See, I love it. You're always on call. I thank you. I love having you in the show, Justin. Enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you so much for stepping in at the last minute to do this.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, especially being able to represent something like this that I know so many of you, it's going to be really life-changing. So it's an honor for me too. See ya.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Nice to have you along as always. Hey, we were talking about the value of those solar panels, and case in point,